I feel like this is going to be a super unfair Disneyland versus Disney World.
Yeah, maybe, yeah.
Hi, everybody, and welcome to Disneyland versus Disney World.
Disney World versus Disneyland?
I sure hope we did that in the right order because I'm not remaking that intro clip. This is the series in which we pick an attraction or show or part of both parks, Disneyland and Disney World, and we compare them and contrast them, and we talk about the different experiences we had. We recently went on a trip. We were within both parks within like a month of each other, and I guess for the sake of excitement, we pick a winner, even though it's Disneyland and Disney World, and you're going to win either way.
Yep.
And today we're going to take a look at the Tower of Terror. Yeah. So it's in, obviously, Hollywood Studios over in Florida, and it is in Disney's California Adventure over in California. And we've rode both. And I don't know. You want to talk a little bit about your Disneyland experience, Christine?
Okay. I guess the first thing that was very different to me immediately was the Tower of Terror is not quite the eye-catching building, I think, as it is in Disney World. Despite the fact that they're both about the same size, I think Disneyland's only a little bit smaller.
I have it as a note right here, weenie. And
yes,
I'm 100. It's not a weenie in Disneyland.
And it is, and it's still a big building, but it's just the way that it's set in the park. It's behind a lot of stuff. It's behind like the Bugs Life area and all that.
It's right next to it. Yeah.
So it's like it kind of just comes at you as a surprise, as opposed to in Disney World where you can see that thing just driving down the highway, you know. So
I mean, even beyond that, like it's back in the corner in Disneyland, but then in Disney World, like you turn down Sunset Boulevard, and it's like the castle of Sunset Boulevard, or you know, the Chinese Theater of Hollywood Boulevard, and it's a centerpiece.
Right. So that was probably the biggest difference. And then the next is that the queue is vastly different. One, it's much shorter. Two, there is less outside area than inside. Whereas in Disney World, you have that whole, you have to walk up that whole almost like ramp up in, and it's all the gardens, and it really feels like you're walking up to this ominous hotel.
Yeah.
And I feel like the one in Disneyland or California Adventure is very much, you know, you walk 5 feet and there it is, you're inside the building. So that was also very different. I feel like the inside is kind of similar. They have some different props from the show, which was cool because it was cool to see new things that they didn't have in Disney World. And then, correct me if I'm wrong, but the pre-show is pretty much the same. The video?
The video, I think, is, yeah.
Yeah, the video.
I think it is. Man, we have to go back to Disneyland, apparently.
Obviously. Like, when we say it's been too long since we've been to the parks, we mean both. So we need to go to both. I can't even remember exactly the walkout into the boiler room area. I do know it's different in that there are 2 floors. We were on the bottom. We were on the bottom floor. But I remember Keith saying to us that there is a way you can go up and then you queue on a top area, which he said was actually cooler. It was a bit more interactive.
That was a big point that stuck out to me, was that boiler room area. And it's weird because on one hand I like it, but on the other hand I didn't. I felt like it was a cool idea in general. I just don't know if I liked it for Tower of Terror, because by adding all that space, for some reason the area felt a lot less threatening to me because it was a lot brighter. That was the big thing I noticed. It was a lot
brighter.
It was brighter. It was more purple. Whereas in Disney World, it's darker and it's got more of a red hue to it. It's more menacing in Disney World, I think. And I think by making it shorter, it actually, the effect was sold on me. I feel like an idiot now saying this, but because I'm in my 20s going on my 30s, but I think it was only like a year or two ago that I realized you're not actually going into a basement when you're in the basement.
No, you're on the same
exactly.
Same floor,
but the theming of that area is just so good that I forget that, and I'm like, oh, am I gonna have cell reception down here? And well, like, I didn't go down anything. And I think that's a credit to the theming there. Whereas in Disneyland, I felt like I was much more I felt like I was on a ride line, you know? It didn't send me there as much. But I kind of still like that idea of that like big industrial space. And I feel like there's got to be a ride out there somewhere where something like that would be perfect. Mm-hmm. I just don't know if it was this one. Mm-hmm. And then as for the ride itself, the other thing that stuck out for me was I did not like they gave like Rod Serling or the Rod Serling impersonator like a little speech that isn't in the Disney World version.
It's a slightly different. Yeah, I mean, he speaks in the Disney World version.
In the video.
No, he speaks in the ride.
Well, yeah, okay, he speaks in the ride too.
But it's different.
It is different, and I feel like the writing stood out to me as like, this doesn't sound like something he would say.
Well, can we first get to the bigger point of the structure of the ride? Because you don't go into a second shaft like you do in Disney World. It's all in a single thing. And so you don't go through that whole room that's supposed to be, I guess, the fifth dimension.
Right.
I like that room, but like, for example, I know Keith doesn't like that room. He thinks it's kind of cheesy, the one in Disney World. So I think that could be a very polarizing thing. It's like either you like the idea of going through there and then you move into the other shaft, or you like the way it is in Disneyland. But that's pretty huge difference in terms of how the ride is just run, and I think a lot of it has to do with, as we've always said, just space. You know, Disney World obviously had the space to build two shafts like that, whereas Disneyland has to utilize the small space, and so.
I like to think there was a rivalry between Imagineers when they were like designing it, and they're like, "Hey over there! Guess what? We're gonna move the elevator from one room to the other. Why? I don't know, because we can. Why don't we go to a third elevator shaft? How do you like that?"
But what I do like, you know, you mentioned, there's this speech and it's different, and I guess from somebody who had been on Disney World so many times and had been in this one only once, I actually liked that it was different because I didn't know when the drop was coming.
Right.
And not even that I didn't, it was like, I partly was listening for the words that I knew, because, you know, that's what you do. But at the same time, even just the speech, the way it was, there is no pause that cues you to, okay, you're going to drop now, in the way that Disney World does. It's, like, pretty quick. And it almost seems like it's in the middle of, like, the speech. Like, as if the speech isn't over yet. And I liked that because it scared the crap out of me. Like, I had no idea the drop was coming. And that was just a way more, like, thrilling experience. But again, that could partially be because I've been in Disney World so many times I have it, like, practically memorized.
Right.
But I thought that was really cool. There's no, like, audio clue that you might be dropping. It just kind of happens.
Yeah. So that's the ride experience. I mean, yeah, the queue, like you said, very different. I like in Disneyland the dead body in the post show.
Yeah,
when you're walking out, that was kind of creepy, kind of awesome. I also just like the post show area. It's more industrial for longer than I think in the Disney World version, where you got the little elevator room where you buy the photo or you see the photo, and then like boom, you're back in a hotel lobby somewhere. You know,
the other difference is that we didn't talk about is I believe the California one, the drops are always the same. Still.
Oh, are they?
Yes, and that Disney World is the one that's randomized.
I've never ridden it frequently enough in either park where I felt like I would even notice the randomized dropping. Like, it could be, you could tell me tomorrow that Disney World's been pre-programmed all along, and I would be like, sure. Well, they all sort of blend into one experience for me.
When I say randomized, I'm pretty sure that it's like 4 different, right? It's something like that. It's like 4 different ones, and it randomly picks it. It's not like the computer's just like, today we're going to do 7 full drops.
Oh, we glitched out. They've been on there for 4 hours. Oh, man, it's random. Hey, what are we going to do? No, yeah, I just think the ride experience is so thrilling that to me, like, you could tell me, oh, well, that was 6 drops instead of 5. I would not have really noticed. It's just all the same to me. So I guess the big question then is, which one wins?
Well, like you said,
and why is it Disney World?
Yeah.
It's Disney World.
It's kind of an unfair.
I mean, and again, like, it's silly to say one wins over the other because at the end of the day, there's still great rides in both parks.
Yeah.
I just think that's a great example here where there's so much more beyond the ride mechanic that goes into the success of a ride. Like when we talk about the ride itself, yeah, there's the second elevator shaft and the drops, but that didn't play as much of a part as the queue and the voiceover and the lighting and the location in the park itself played such a big part. And to me, even though it's not like they were lazy in Disneyland, they just don't have the luxury of space that they do on the on the East Coast. It just shows the difference between Disney Imagineering's the way every aspect gets well thought out and designed versus like Tower of Terror and Disneyland to me feels like what Six Flags would try to do if they were to get into more themed rides, where it's just like, we're going to make this themed ride and we're just going to, I don't know, plop it in that corner back there and not think of the bigger picture.
I think Disney World, it's a much more menacing experience because you see, like you said, it's kind of like the castle on Sunset Boulevard. And you see it, and you're like, oh, man. And then you're, like, walking up to it, and then you hear the people. Like, can't even think if I can remember hearing the people on the ride. I'm sure you did.
I think I heard some. Yeah, I think I did.
But it wasn't something that, like, stood out to me.
Right. It's all about its placement in the parks, which, makes it unfair because Disneyland didn't have that luxury of, knowing where they can put it or putting it wherever they want it. But, that just shows, I mean, and it's an interesting history, right? Because Hollywood Boulevard was added for Tower of Terror.
Right.
And this one, I think, was just, they wanted to get it in there in California Adventure. Anyway, there you have it. The Tower of Terror. Did points for Disney World, but a point for everybody. I will ride either.
Points for everybody.
Points for all.
Participation awards.
Yeah, everyone gets a trophy because it's Disney World and you can't really lose unless it's Stitch. See, I threw that in for you. Stitch doesn't get it. Stitch doesn't get it. I read a really good article about why it's such a bad ride.
Really long one.
Yeah.
Oh my god, you should link to it.
It's kind of turned my opinion on the ride around.
Yeah.
I didn't dislike it, but it made me realize like how out of place and wrong of an attraction. Whatever, that's for a whole other video. Yeah. Let us know in the comments below what you think. Which one do you think is better? Maybe you've ridden both and you think we're totally wrong. Let us know. Let us know if there's an attraction from both parks that you'd like to see us, I don't know what, battle out next. Head to head, Space Mountain. If you want to check out some more Disney videos and gaming videos, you can check out Christine's channel. It can be found at
Ivy Winter. Just search for that and you'll find me. And you can follow me on Twitter at Ivy Winter YT. I update there on new videos too.
There you go. Thank you all for watching. Whatever you're doing this week, make the most of it because it makes it that much better. And I hope to see you all next time on the next episode of Disney World versus Disneyland.
I can't go that high.
You gotta try Disney World versus Disneyland. Disneyland versus Disney World. Bye, everybody.